let's proceed to our bone in the hip and the leg. So we've already discussed the bone in the vertebral column and the rib cage. So now let's proceed to the last part of the skeletal system, which is the hip and the leg. So let's now discuss first the pelvic girdle. So pelvic girdle or pelvic bone consists of the two hip bones, which is causae or innominate bones, which articulate with the axial skeleton at the sacrum. Each hip bone has three major parts: the ilium, ischium, and pubis, which depicts both of male and female pelvis. So, literally, pelvic girdle is also called as a bony pelvis. While in our human anatomy. Why? Because it is actually like a basin shape complex of bone that connects to the trunk and legs. It eventually supports and balances our trunk and supports our intestine, the urinary bladder, and the internal sex organs. So that is pelvic or the pelvic girdle or the bony pelvis. So this is the location of in anterior view and posterior view of each pelvis, part of pelvis. Okay, so let's now discuss what is ilium. The ilium is a flared upper portion that forms the sacroiliac joint. So as you can see, there is a highlighted part here that is a sacroiliac joint. So in the higher part of sacroiliac joint, it is called as a ilium. Okay, the upper portion of sacroiliac joint. Next, we have ischium is the lower posterior part that we sit on, while the pubis is the lowermost anterior part. The two pubic bones articulate with one another at the pubic symphysis with a disc of fibrous cartilage between them. So, ischium is the lower part, so meaning to say it is situated below the ilium and behind the pubis. It is one of these three bones whose fusion creates the hip. So, that is the ischium. Okay. Thus, the ischium is our buttocks. Okay. So, the ischial bursae sit just below the buttocks or gluteus maximus muscles. Their primary role is to prevent the gluteus maximus tendons from rubbing against the part of the pelvic bone that the person sit on. So, meaning to say, ischium or ischial bursae sit just below the buttocks. It doesn't mean that the ischium is our buttocks. Okay? Sit just below the buttocks. That is ischial bursae or the ischium. Okay, so let's proceed. So these are the location of ischium and pubis. Yan. So now let's proceed on identifying what is acetabulum. Okay, acetabulum is the socket in the hip bone that forms a ball and socket joint with the femur. So as you can see in this illustration, there is a highlighted part here, the green one, that is a acetabulum. As you can see, it's actually formed like a bowl and socket. Okay? So let's hindi na natin kailangan i-explain it furthermore because that is the function of acetabulum. Acetabulum. Yan. Okay, so since I've already mentioned femur, let's discuss what is femur. The femur is the long bone of our thigh. The femur forms a very movable ball and socket joint with the hip bone. At the proximal end of the femur are the greater and lesser trochanters, large projection that are anchors for muscles. At its distal end, the femur forms a hinge joint, the knee with the tibia of the lower leg. So what does it mean by the state? So meaning to say, when we say femur, it is also called as our thigh bone or upper bone of our leg. The head form a ball and socket joint with the hip, or it's also called acetabulum, being held in the place by ligament. So, meaning to say, the femur is surrounding by the ligaments. So that is femur. So what is the major function of femur? So since femur is the longest, heaviest, and the stronger bones of human body, the main function of femur is weight bearing and stability of our gait. Okay, so that is the major function of femur. It is the longest and heaviest and strongest bone. Kaya nakakakaya tayo magkarga ng mabibigat na bagay because of femur. That is why there is so-called stability of our body, because there is so-called bone, which is femur. Okay? So that is a location of saan nakikita si femur. So patella. So the patella or the kneecap is anterior to the knee joint and close in the tendon of the quadriceps femoris, a large muscle group of the thigh. Actually, you've already known this one. What is kneecap? What is patella? Because in the body parts and function, we've already discussed it. So as you can see in the highlighted part here, that is the location of the kneecap or patella bone. Okay? Let's proceed. Let's proceed now to the tibia and fibula. Okay. The tibia is the weight-bearing bone of the lower leg. You can feel the tibial tuberosity or a bump, an anterior crest or a ridge on the front of your own leg. The medial or malleolus, what we may call the inner ankle bone, is the distal end. Fibula now itself is not part of the knee joint and does not bear much weight. The lateral malleolus of the fibula is the outer ankle of bone. You can find just above your foot. The differences between the fibula and tibia is that tibia and fibula are the two long bones, right? Located in our lower leg. But the tibia is a larger bone on the inside, while fibula is a smaller bone on the outside. So that is the differences between tibia and fibula. Okay, let's proceed. I will not be reading this one because this is actually pertaining to the process on how can fibula and tibia can function. Okay, so let me read this statement below na lang. The tibia and fibula do not form a pivot joint as do the radius and ulna in the forearm. This also contributes to the stability of the lower leg and foot and support of the entire body. So that's why I've said that there is a certain our foot is stabilized because of the different part of the bone in the lower portion. In the lower portion, it includes, of course, a tibia and fibula. That is why it's also included in the strongest bone, because it can carry or it can bear a weight. Yan. So that is tibia and fibula. So always remember that the difference between the two is that tibia is a larger bone inside, while fibula is a smaller bone outside. Okay? Next. So, nakikita nyo, fibula is a larger one, tibia is a smaller one. Tarsals. So, the tarsals are the 7 bones in the ankle. As you would expect, they are larger and stronger than the carpals of the wrist, and their gliding joint do not provide nearly as much movement. So, tarsal, or the major function of tarsal bones, help to form the main arcs of the foot. So, eventually, it is importance in our essential for weight bearing and walking. That's why we can bear something that is heavy because also of tarsal, and we can walk because of tarsal. Not only tarsal but also metatarsal. So I will be discussing that one furthermore. So these are the bones in the tarsal part. Okay. So the yellow one is the calcaneus, the purple one or the periwinkle one is the talus bone, the blue one is the cuboid bone, the red one is the navicular bone, and the green one is the cuneiform bones. Okay, so the largest is the calcaneus or heel bone. The talus transmit weight between the calcaneus and the tibia. Metatarsal are the 5 long bones of each foot. And phalanges are the bones of the toes. That is why I've said metatarsals and tarsal can help to form the main arcs of the foot, which are essential for our weight and bearing and walking. And also refer to the 5 long, I've said 5 long bones of each foot. Okay, so that is the major function of metatarsal and tarsal itself. Essential for weight bearing and walking. Okay? So, these are the representation of calcaneus or heel bone. Yung location nila, the highlighted part, the green one, and the phalanges itself or the finger of your toes, and the metatarsals or refer to the 5 long bones. Okay. So, this is the summary of each part of the bone in hip and leg. Just read it kasi it's very factual and it's very understandable even though I've already discussed it naman din from the pelvic, femur, tibia, fibula to tarsal. Okay? So that's it. That is the end of the skeletal system. So I hope you understand our discussion, and if you have question, you can leave it in our GC. Thank you very much.